Roblox Cold Truth is a game that has sadly been largely forgotten and lost to time, but there was once a time where this game was relatively popular, and it deserved it. It was a survival puzzle game that managed to hold its own despite not having any scares or combat or anything like that. It was just pure survival, exploration, and puzzle solving, which I can appreciate. But I'm not here to talk about the gameplay, as usual. You saw the title, so you know what time it is. In this video, I will be dissecting the lore and storyline of this game. So without further ado, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump into the Arctic abyss of Cold Truth's lore. So at first glance, the plot of this game seems rather straightforward, and to be fair, by the time you get to the end you probably know what's going on, but I'll summarize what happens in the game regardless. Basically, the player character is a worker or scientist of sorts who works for a research company based in the Antarctic. Their snowcat crashes into a ravine and they are forced to escape. After escaping, the player ventures through abandoned outposts and uses what they can find to solve puzzles and eventually find a way to escape. Eventually, they find a drill as well as the necessary parts for it. The player escapes the hole and is either revealed to have a green rot-like substance on their hand, or checks off a checklist depending on whether you got the good or bad ending, which is very, very cryptic in both scenes. So, what does this all mean? Well, the lore of this game is delivered in two ways, through notes and through tapes. The tapes contain a lot of necessary and interesting lore details, although the voice acting is questionable at times.
You really care about this team, don't you? Yeah, I do.
The notes, however, give more of background details to better flesh out the world. From what I can gather, the story goes that in the Standpoint region, scientists accidentally released an ancient and powerful virus known as root acid, which corrupts and kills anything it touches. We can see this acid in action on stuff like breakable walls, and, of course, we hear about its effects on the scientists and the people who worked there. Through the notes, we can see that the scientists tried to call for help, but their calls were never answered by the company. The facilities slowly began to turn on each other in order to survive, killing and looting their corpses and offices for food and firewood to stay warm. We learn a lot of information from the creator of the tapes, a man named Tom. We can see how he goes from hopeful to desperate as the situation around him gets worse and worse, and as his colleagues turn on each other. Eventually, sick of what's happening, a few of the scientists, including Tom, banded together and created the drill, which would get through the fjord's icy walls and carry them to safety. Unfortunately, another in the group, a person named Neil, appears to have stolen the necessary parts for the drill, causing it to explode and killing all the scientists but Tom instantly. Tom bleeds out in a nearby shed where he records his final message, while Neil hides the remains of the drill around the camp and disappears as well, probably dying in the storm too. In the current day of the game, it is up to us to do what they could not and repair the drill in order to escape. So that's the lore of this game, but now I want to get to a theory I have. A theory that makes this game, and its protagonist, far more sinister. So in the game, we hear that the company the scientists work for were supposed to rescue them and bring them supplies. We see that both in the game itself and hear about it in the first few tapes. I think this was an intentional move on the company's part, to abandon the scientists who unearthed this deadly disease. Once they heard about it from the scientists telling them what was happening, they likely saw it best to quarantine the whole fjord in order to ensure that the virus didn't spread to the rest of the world. So what does this have to do with our protagonist? Well, let's take a look at them. We know that they are working for the company as well as the scientists, considering that they drive a snowcat as well. We also know that whoever they are not stationed at the Fjord Research Labs originally, considering that they fell inside during the beginning of the game, and they have no knowledge of what happened to the people there. Or so we think. Regardless of how they got into the fjord, I think their trip there was intentional. I think he was driving in that general direction, but due to the harsh storm, miscalculated where to stop. Now, why do I think this? Of course, this is a pretty big leap in logic. Well, because during the game's good ending, instead of being corrupted with the root acid, the player pulls out a pen of paper and crosses out 3 sentences. It's an odd scene for sure, and it's definitely not the impactful ending you'd be expecting from a game like this. But I think now I know what it means. The player was sent to the fjord by the company to ensure that everyone had died, and that the virus died with them. It would explain the player's motivations, the reason the company abandoned the scientist, and it would explain that pesky good ending. But anyways, I think that's all I got for now. What do you think of this theory? Am I right, or am I going insane because Stars Align isn't out yet? Be sure to let me know and tell me what you think in the comments. Also, be sure to like and subscribe for more Roblox lore videos like this one. See you all next time, and bye.